Excellent.
Did you find some shade, some place to have not too much sun?
Yeah, I found a cafe. We extended our trip in Kerkira and Corfu for 1 day just because the flights were really bad for today. So yeah, found a cafe, got some shade, got some Wi-Fi, ready to go.
Nice.
And we got a big call today, huh? I mean, I don't know if you guys also noticed the Treasury. We've all of the assets now are under control of the Grape DAO.
Yes.
Scary.
Yeah, but it's cool too, you know, like we've got a good war chest to play with, especially now, you know, like it feels like we're done with the bearishness or the bear market, so we got a big war chest, and you know that's not everything, right? We've also, like, at some point I'm gonna try to do this, or maybe somebody can volunteer. We have to quantify the total treasury because we've got all these different squads, and then we have all those NFTs. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're, you know, just shy of $1 million in assets for the DAO.
A nice number.
Yeah, nice round number.
Yeah. Market the shit out of that.
So let me see. We got quite a few people in the audience. I'm gonna go ahead and invite Mackie, who is Daniel from Civic, up. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
It doesn't get much better, my man. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks, Dean, for inviting me. This is my first Grape call. Thanks for having me, everyone.
That's great to have you, man. And now, Daniel, are you back in Berlin?
Yes, I arrived back at 6:30 a.m. this morning after having traveled through the night. It's hard to get from middle of the UK to Birmingham to Berlin these days, but I made it, and I'm most of my brain is awake, and that will have to do you all.
Well, we've also got quite a few members, Grape members, hardcore DAO members near you.
Yeah, right.
So if maybe after this call, if you guys sync up, you can meet some of the Grapers somewhere in Berlin.
Yeah, that would be great. Definitely get in touch. I'm away. I'm actually heading back out to France tomorrow morning for 2 weeks. But once I'm back, I'd love to meet up with you guys.
Wow, nonstop. What's in France next week?
France next week is official family holiday. The rest has been work and stuff.
Well deserved. How was the I didn't get a chance, but I know you presented at ETHCC. How was that?
Yeah, ETHCC was very nice. It was actually my first proper big Ethereum conference, but it was really interesting just coming off the back of the Hacker House in Paris to compare and contrast the two scenes, the two spaces. Obviously, hacker houses and big conferences are different anyway, and that would be the case whether it was on the same ecosystem or not. But there were still some very clear differences for me. Solana, it's very clearly still in the early exciting stage, even though we've been in it for a few years now, most of us. It's still early and exciting. There's lots of building going on. There's lots of new spaces to explore. And with that, I really think that there's aside maybe from Athens DAO, which was a bit of an exception, I think, there's maybe not as much focus on some of the philosophy and kind of principles and thinking behind Web3. Everyone's busy heads down coding, collaborating, and that's as it should be probably at this stage. But in ETHCC, there was a lot of talk about like refi, regenerative finance, public goods funding. One of the effectively keynotes was from the CEO of Gitcoin. There was a lot of focus on DAOs as well, not just, and it was different focus on DAOs. It wasn't look what you can do now on DAOs. It was more 1 year in, 2 years in, this is the kind of the things that work in DAOs, the things that don't work. How do you scale a DAO from the size of this sort of community to a size of 100,000 and so on? And I think this would very much interest you guys. So I think Solana can look at things like EthCC, and the DAOs that are running on Solana, like Grape, can look at EthCC and see where Solana will hopefully be in a couple of years.
Great. I mean, seeing that we can really look at another ecosystem for kind of the future of discussion, and put that into our building today. I think that makes a lot of sense.
100%. Yeah.
So, CryptoPause, Dynite Rider. If you guys don't mind, I want Daniel to speak first, because just for timing reasons, he asked if he could speak earlier in the agenda. So if everybody's cool with that, we'll move forward with the Civic presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, great. Thanks, everyone. That's good of you. Just a quick question. How do I set up my... I'm trying to work out how I can share my screen from this space. Has anyone got a quick tip? Because I'm not seeing an obvious...
No, there is no way to do a share screen from a space. So this is something we should have probably had gone over ahead of time. Yeah, unfortunately, spaces, there is no way. What we traditionally do is, if we find in the course of our spaces that somebody wants to do this, we then at the end of it head over to a different place where people can share a screen. That being said, is there anything we can go over without requiring a shared screen, and then later in the week we can set up a time?
Yeah, I think I'll have to do it that way. I'll just talk it through then. To be honest, I don't know. A lot of you guys may have already seen what I'm going to talk about. It's really just an update. Anyone who was at Athens DAO would have seen this, and anyone who was at the Solana Hacker House or following on the live stream, and I'll send links around to that if you weren't, will have seen the latest update. Basically, what I want to talk about is Civic Pass integration into Realms. And there are kind of three aspects. So aspect one, first of all, what is Civic Pass? Basically, it's a soulbound token model for adding real-world identity in a tokenized form to your crypto wallet. Real-world identity comes in a few different flavors. One is kind of full-blown identity verification with like ID document, passport scanning, and so on. One is proof of uniqueness, where we do a face scan and we map that uniquely to a wallet, so you can have Sybil attack resistance in your DAO and other protocols. And then we also have simple kind of bot resistance, where you fill out a captcha, and that is for a short period registered on chain as well, to prevent for things like NFT mints and so on. But the important thing is, whatever it is, it's registered as a token. There's no personal information obviously registered on chain, but it's registered as a token, so that a smart contract, the likes of SPL governance, can check for the existence of that token. And the type of token, effectively, the type of pass is just a key, an address that then you can encode into your protocol to say, okay, we want to have a DAO that has where everyone has had KYC done, or have a DAO where everyone is over 18, or have a DAO where we know that every wallet is a unique wallet, and there's no kind of there's no people kind of trying to get power by spreading their governance tokens across multiple wallets and that sort of thing. That's what I presented in Athens a month or so ago, and it's live in Realms right now. But then there were a couple of new things that came in that aren't quite live, that came in during Paris, that I was going to show here. Before I go into that next bit, any questions about Civic Pass itself and how it works? Okay, cool. So the next bit was the thing that I presented in Paris. And it might be interesting to some of you, either now in Grape, in some sub-DAOs of Grape, or in any future DAOs that you're involved with, or grant or funding yourselves. And this is quadratic voting plugin. So I think some of you will know that the Realms has kind of got this concept of plugins. NFT voting plugin is probably the most common one. The Civic Pass integration is itself a plugin. And what I've been working on in conjunction with Sebastian at Solana is an ability to compose these plugins, to chain them together. So you can have NFT voting plus Civic Pass or whatever else you might want. And the benefit of that is that you can then start making really, the same as composition in any case, you can start having very simple single responsibility plugins and chain them up together to build the sort of governance model that you want. So as a way of demonstrating that, I built the first version of Quadratic Voting plugin. Very briefly, I'm sure most of you know what Quadratic Voting is, but just in case you don't, the idea is essentially that on somewhere between the scale of one person, one vote, which would be what you would get if you just added the Civic Pass plugin with uniqueness, and $1, one vote, where the amount of governance, the kind of default out-of-the-box behavior of Realms, where the amount of governance tokens you have determines your vote. Somewhere in between those things is quadratic voting, where you can vote, and you also specify the degree to which you believe in the preference, but it's not one-to-one. So if you have, typically, the simplest way of thinking about it is the strength of your vote is equal to the square root of the tokens that you commit to that vote. So if you commit 100 tokens, then the vote is 10. If you commit 10,000 tokens, then your vote is 100, and so on. And you can see immediately how that has a dampening effect. It reduces the power of whales and increases the power of everybody else in comparison. And it's useful, therefore, I think, for more community DAOs. It might not be immediately useful for more traditional sort of DeFi protocol DAOs. But there are some interesting cases, like Solend a couple of months ago. If you look through the controversial proposals about taking some of the taking the positions of the risky whales, I'm sure you all remember the case, offline and settling them off chain rather than letting them liquidate. That proposal, although it wasn't executed, did pass. But if you look at the actual votes, it passed only because a very tiny number of extremely powerful whales pushed it through, and the vast majority of people were opposed to it. I don't really have an opinion on whether it was right or wrong, but that might not be what you want in a DAO. You might want to have a DAO where there is some variant of majority rule, and the quadratic plugin basically allows for that. But, and here's the important bit, the quadratic plugin doesn't work unless you also have some Sybil resistance, right? Unless you have a proof of uniqueness. Because obviously, if you have 100 governance tokens, you could just create 100 wallets, spread them out across all of those wallets, and then vote on each one individually. The square root of 1 is 1, and you would get 100 votes. So in order to prevent that, what you need to do, and what is now possible, at least in DevNet, on Realms, is the ability to compose the quadratic plugin with the Civic uniqueness plugin to guarantee Sybil-resistant quadratic voting in Realms. And I will put all that in a little bit more context in a demo and send it around to you guys probably later on in the month when I'm back from my holiday. But yeah, that's basically the background of where we are right now with integrating Civic into Realms. Any questions on that?
Yeah. So on the Civic Pass, Civic ID, where does the data live? So if we use Civic authentication, do we have to somehow deal with the data, or how does this happen?
So that very much depends on the type of pass. It's a good question. So let's take the three cases I gave, right? The simplest one, the bot resistance, there's no data. It's a single one-time check, and then we store the token on chain. We don't store data. You don't store data. It's all simple. The KYC pass is what's called self-sovereign identity. So and we're still building tools around this for Solana. We had an old kind of tool set using an app, and we're kind of moving away from that now. But the basic principle is you go through KYC process with us. We send you back what's called a verifiable credential, which is basically your data signed by us. Because it's signed by us, it's non-tamperable by you, which means you can send it on to third parties that need it for regulatory reasons or otherwise. So you can keep it, send it on. In principle, you don't have to go through a KYC process ever again, right? You just reuse the same credentials and send it on. The challenge is where do you keep it in the meantime? And that's the tooling that we're building. And how do you present it? We're building those tooling or rebuilding that tooling as well. But in that case, we don't store your data, you store your data. Then there's the third case, this uniqueness pass. And that's a slightly interesting case because there's no real data per se. There's just the proximity of your face to other faces that we've seen. That's how we identify if it's unique or not. And there are other ways of getting that uniqueness pass. That's just the one we have right now. So in that case, what we do is, in this case, there's no data for us to send to you, but we have to store some data. It is somewhat centralized in that regard. In that, what we do is we turn your face into a multidimensional vector in a vector space, and your face is then represented as a point. And then there's clustering algorithms going on to work out if it's similar to other faces. So it's data, it's centralized in our database, but there's two mitigating factors. The first is we can't reconstruct your face from that point, so we don't really have your face on file, so to speak. And the other mitigating factor is this concept, which I won't go into now because it'll probably take too much time in this call, but of the gatekeeper network. So the protocol doesn't fix to Civic. You're not tying yourself into Civic per se. You're tying yourself into a network of identity providers. I go into that a little bit more in my ECC talk, so I'll send that link around. Yeah, okay. So we're always about trying to find that seam, trying to find the balance between kind of a trustless model and one that inherently requires a certain amount of trust, as does identity verification.
Yeah, I think the second option, the KYC option, is of interest to us.
Okay, great. Yeah, definitely get in touch with me offline then. We can talk about it.
Dean, do you have details questions?
I mean, I think both the KYC and the proof of uniqueness are valuable for us, right? Where, the KYC is more from a compliance. There's going to inevitably be things where, like right now we hypothesize that USDC payments are going to require KYC just because of, money transmitting. But, I have aspirations where Grape starts owning, assets, physical assets that, the DAO owns land or something. So inevitably we're going to need KYC. But for people who aren't KYCing, I think proof of uniqueness is going to be valuable. And even if we don't use a quadratic voting schema, just for the way we're thinking about reputation and other things, I think it's powerful. So Daniel, we haven't discussed, we've discussed this briefly, me and you, but for everybody in the audience, our aspiration is to move into a very meritocratic kind of voting process where people earn voting power from being part of the community. That's kind of, it doesn't really fit into the quadratic model. But that being said, it does lend itself where if somebody could hypothetically have a public persona where they're building up reputation, and then they could have a anonymous persona where they're building up tokens, and then for whatever reason they want to attack the treasury, they could just transfer from point A to point B. It becomes easier for us to kind of understand the uniqueness. There's still problems, but I think using proof of uniqueness is still something that could benefit us.
Yeah, it's about building a tool chest, right? It's about building a suite of tools that interoperate with each other. So the gateway protocol is one of them, the one that Civic Pass is based upon. That's open and anyone can create their own passes. and the plugin that allows you to integrate that with Realms. Plugin composability, so that you can chain up these plugins, is another one of those tools. And eventually we'll end up, I think, having the most powerful DAO infrastructure in Web3. I think it's inevitable, given the speed at which, we are now with Realms. You guys know this, able to do so many more things on chain than are done on in the Ethereum space, for example, just because of the speed and gas costs. And that's only going to that unlocks a whole number of other options that people wouldn't even be thinking about on other chains.
Absolutely. And I think, for us as a next step, when do you plan to move from DevNet to mainnet with the proof of uniqueness?
Proof of uniqueness is on mainnet, but the composition part isn't. I need to talk to Sebastian about timelines for that, because the biggest challenge there is integrating it neatly with the UI, and I know that they're building up their UI team. So at the moment, you can integrate Civic in mainnet, but it only in the one person, one vote model. So somebody could have 1,000 governance tokens, but without the composition part, they will only have one vote in the DAO, which is probably not what you want. So I'll get back to you on that. It's out of my hands, but probably in a crude way or another in the next couple of weeks, I'd say.
Okay, excellent. I think, we're still figuring out exactly how we're going to be doing reputation. But, on the KYC side, we're definitely going to be users. And, separately, I want to figure out how we can use either the proof of uniqueness or KYC processes as kind of stepping stones for people to get into a DAO, and maybe it becomes the first step for somebody where after they've completed proof of uniqueness, they receive 1 or 2 Grape, just to slowly reward people for going through different steps to get deeper and deeper into DAO processes. I'm not sure. I'm just saying it off, off cuff, because there is the other side where it's like, should that be the first step somebody does? Maybe we don't want everyone to, we should think about KYC, for example, as a necessary evil versus a standard.
I think that's correct. I mean, and again, it's about doing it right. A lot of people get told they have to implement this necessary evil, and then they do it kind of ham-fistedly, and it doesn't end up being self-sovereign, and it's tied into a centralized, like you do it with Binance or FTX or whatever. And the question is, if we need it on chain, if we need these kind of on-chain passes to gate smart contracts and programs, then there's a right way of doing that, and that's what we're building. So yeah, I like the idea of rewarding people. Is again tied into reputation, right? Of basically giving people benefits for proving aspects of their identity on chain, rewarding them with Grape for doing so. So we can definitely talk about that. There might be some opportunities there to integrate.
Excellent. Does anyone else have any other questions, or I don't want to keep Daniel, and really thank you for taking the time. And let's set up a separate time where we can specifically do a spaces where we can do a bit of a video demo as well. I think that would be valuable, and we can help also work on some of that tutorial. We create those contents, those tutorials, guides. So we'd love to help you there.
Great, thanks. Yeah, anyone have any questions? I'm happy to take them here or offline as well.
Not right now, but I think once we think about a little bit what we can do, especially with quadratic voting and the composability aspect, I think then the questions will come.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks everyone for listening to me today.
Thanks
And
for
thank
sharing.
you for joining and taking time. Yeah.
Thank you.
CryptoPause, Dinah, what do you guys think we should go over next? Maybe we should go through the bounties with Ryder.
I can give a quick update on bounties.
Yeah, sure.
We have 3 bounties available. 2 development bounties where you said you would give us an update, Dean. And then our last bounty is the newsletter bounty for our content team.
So on the 2 development ones, really on the Strata side, I don't expect us to see much movement there in the short term. I've talked to a number of devs, and it's it's going to be a Strata focused change that needs to happen for us to be able to do some integrations there. And I know that's not the best answer, but outside of giving more exposure, I guess, to the bounty, it's really one of those things that just has to be prioritized. And I know that the Strata guys are really focused on a chat application that almost quite a few of you guys have seen it already. If you're part of Dean's List, you've seen the chat application that's trying to disintermediate Discord. On the squad side, I'm still waiting to hear back, so I apologize. On those 2, we don't have anything new, but I don't know what's next on the newsletter side. Has there been any traction, or I don't know if Taki can speak. He's also got COVID right now, so he might not be able to talk.
Oh, poor Taki. I hope he gets well soon. He's in the audience currently. Yeah, get well soon, Taki. So far as I know, there has been no submission of newsletters. Maybe we should introduce a new category in the bounties, like waiting for external input, because this, at least the Strata thing, seems to be kind of out of our scope. The devs told us that we would need to rewrite extensive amount of Strata code to match the new SPL token standards that Strata doesn't use. So I think we should put it on the back burner for now.
Okay. Well, thank you for those updates. At this point, I also see we've got the Bears team here. I don't know if you guys are cool. We'll bring the Bears up for their update before we go over some of our stuff.
Sure. Sounds good.
Hey,
Hi.
Angered Chemo, welcome.
how's it going?
Doing well, doing well. How are you guys doing?
Too bad it's early on a Sunday morning, but here we are, getting ready for a hike. I don't hear Chemo. I don't know if he's having trouble or what, but
No, I was just escaping my room. My girlfriend's sleeping, so I had to be very, very quiet. And now I can be talking. Hello, everybody.
yeah. So I don't know, Chemo, if we had a specific update. You had asked me to be here. I didn't have anything prepared specifically, but we can talk about bears in general or where we're at with them. Surely.
Yeah,
Or where we're headed next.
we can jump down through the list. There's like quite a few different things. I gotta say, jump starting a NFT DAO is a lot harder than I expected. I think that onboarding people to DAOs is it's hard in the regularly, but onboarding NFT people to DAOs is difficult because it's just like it's like a total flip of the switch from uh, you know upfront short term ADHD to like long term planning and all that stuff. So, but on the bright side, we have at this point like is it 9 total council members bees or is it 7? Somewhere around one of those two. And they're all pretty
Yeah, I think
engaged, which is really nice.
Yeah, we got about 9. The real beauty of that to me is that we've pretty much pulled all those people as just current or existing active community members that were already passionate about the product and the project, which is what we wanted from the beginning, anyways. I think Chemo's notions about finding difficulty in jumpstarting the NFT project from this DAO perspective is true in that I think these guys, that they're not really quite sure what to do. So Chemo and I are now faced with the burden of, training a team, so to speak, on what it is that we should do next. I think they're all ready and willing, but none of them have quite drilled into their own personal initiative yet. So that's pretty much where we are.
Yeah. The first thing we want to try and start with is, one of the big thing that's kind of missing in the NFT ecosystem is any sort of written documentation of anything that's happened at all. So I think one of the easiest ways to get people onboarded is to get them to tell stories. And we were on a Twitter Spaces like a month or so ago, and a guy came up who was like a OG bear minter back in September, and he was from ETH, and he was like, "Oh, this is really cool what you guys are doing. I always thought that it'd be a really cool idea to make a documentary out of as much as we could from that story." And also just the sort of the ecosystem at large, especially like the rugs and all the scams and something that's internal. So over the next month or two, I think that's probably what we're gonna try and sick the DAO on is really kind of collecting information and putting it all together in a format that's easy to consume, and then ideally turning it into a documentary. So this guy Danger, he's a producer. He's sold some films to Netflix, I think. Does sizzle reels and all that stuff. So he's going to be helping us out with that. And general plan with that is to collect information as much as we can, get a couple different budget levels that we can go at, because documentaries can be pretty much as cheap or as expensive as you want to be. And then do a sizzle reel, and then figure out a way to do a raise, and kind of just do that as a DAO because it's a low barrier to entry. It doesn't require a lot of technical expertise on anything. So that's kind of the first plan. And if anybody wants to help with that, by all means, if you have any special info about any rugs or scams or cool things, I think like the big piece there is that there's not really any internal media that is presented to like the general populace at all. That's not like hypercritical of the NFT ecosystem, right? Like it's all coming from the outside in, and it gets a lot of views. Like there's been a few NFT things on YouTube that get like millions and millions of views if they're of a high enough quality. But we don't really have anything that represents us meaningfully. So I think that's just about it. There's a few other technical stuff that's happening behind the scenes in terms of bears and cats and new art and Hope Token and whatnot, but that's on the back burner at least until we can get the data kind of participate more and kind of take some agency as well. But yeah.
So you mentioned DAO participation. What do you think the issue is there?
I don't know if there's necessarily an issue. It's a little bit of a slow moving train. We got the application up on the website so that community members could apply to be actual council members. Our stipulation has been, that there's some criteria, right? Like you have to have a little bit of available time, and you have to go through the proof of piece of doxing, which Johanna uses Civic with, because we're going to tie those people to council tokens and funds. So we just as of last week got a couple of those out, nudging people through that process. And then, this coming week, we're going to, review the Realms tool together as a team. And, we've stood up a task board and all of that. So it's more or less getting these people familiar of going through the the motions of, moving past just being a community participant to a community leader. So there's a transition there for them that's maybe not super familiar. I think anybody who's in this space knows that, one of the rare gems is people who just leap headfirst into some sort of leadership role and really, really take the reins. So I think Chemo and I have an objective on our plate, which is specifically to get these people comfortable with the idea that they do have agency and they do have, a bigger voice in the community, and that they should take charge, and, making it seem less like Chemo and I are just the, mama and papa bear of the bears, and have it be a true round table and get these people to really just kind of stand up and take some initiative.
Yeah, I think to kind of add on to that, it's just like the pipeline in NFTs has always been kind of buy an NFT and then wait for stuff to happen. And it's really difficult. It's like, running up a really strong river, to kind of go against that. And I think it's a really good thing, but, quickly, we've gone from total sprint mode pre-launch into like, oh, wow, this is definitely a marathon. So that's kind of the approach there. It's just kind of introducing people to stuff, right? Like none of these people have ever used Realms before. None of them have probably even really thought about what a DAO is before, right? Like most of these people are Solana NFT natives, so they might have had a few Ethereum NFTs as well, but even DAOs on Ethereum and NFTs don't overlap very much. So it's definitely a bit of an exploration. I think the other big piece is just continuously onboarding people too, meaningfully, and giving them things to do and finding ways to kind of just, again, create that agency. And you said motion, but also notion, giving people tools to use as well. But yeah, that's kind of the general high level update. Yeah.
Yeah, to be clear too, we've only had 2 Bear Council meetings, right? So I think we're just in this transition phase where now we're done with the reload, so to speak, and we're just trying to get it so that it's viewed and perceived differently. So I think we're going to get there. It's a game of patience at this point. Market being unforgiving, activity being down, all being caveats here, but the team that's behind the scenes is still kind of excited and moving forward. So we have high hopes for Bears, and I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I don't know actually if anybody, if
That's great to
everybody
hear.
or if people saw the Sanctuary update, but we transitioned like the Sanctuary main server into the Bears server. That's where kind of Bees and I are putting most of our time in. Sanctuary is kind of transitioned into a more of a service of bears more than it was a because initially we were like, yeah, we need to build this community around Sanctuary. You want to create sort of a culture shift around NFTs being more communally owned and whatnot, but we figured the best way to do that is to go and demonstrate it because people have a hard time with it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those things where you gotta give it time. We're obviously big fans, considering also that the first launch of our collection marketplace was launched with the bears. I know within Grape there are multiple bear holders. I know that the NFT Treasury holds, I think, 10 bears as well. So we want to see you guys succeed. I think as you continue to explore building out your DAO, don't hesitate to rely on us. We've gone through it all, and I can confidently say that Grape has the most seasoned DAO members in Solana. So I'm sure there's a way where we can leverage a lot of that strength to help our fellow bears out.
Yeah, exactly my thought. You will be, or you in the next coming week or month, you will be definitely encounter some situations that we were in and where we initially failed and then found solutions. So if you got stuck or feel like there is like especially for if you onboard members that never worked together in such a way, and since it's unique situation right now for many people, don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, I guess my first reaction to that would be Kimo and I are going to try to regularly, well, we are going to have, as we have always had, a static Tuesday Bear community meeting. And now we've added a static Bear council meeting every Tuesday as well. I would encourage anybody who feels like they have something to offer to a blossoming new DAO, which is kind of in this new arena of we've hijacked the project and we're trying to put the community in charge. If you have something to offer, even in a small respect, to come in and observe and offer insight, please do. We'd love to have you.
I think the most important part is to get the council talking with each other and not only on specific meetings. So if they have like a group chat between them or something like that, yeah, you need to get the conversation going. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I think we created the council chat, but one of the things that I noticed in the last few weeks, because we've had a lot of different marketing chats pop up on different initiatives, is whenever we make those group chats, people tend to be much more responsive. So I think that's something we'll definitely do. Thank you. And then we had I don't know if is this DAO Talk Grape limited? Did you have to hold Grape to join? I had a couple people say they were not able to, but
Yeah, we limit our DAO meetings to Grape holders, and really, I think the dollar value is something like what, $15. So it's less than a bear. But yeah, that's how we restrict the stage.
yeah. I was just curious because they were like, hey, I tried to come, but I couldn't. I have to get them some Grape for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go along with what CryptoPause was mentioning, like we've been through these things, we've gone through these things. This is going to be one of the learning lessons for me has been, identifying what friction you create for who.
right? So you want to have friction for people who have not proven themselves anywhere. And then you want to be frictionless for people who have already proven themselves somewhere else. So speaking about my own self, I am unlikely to fill out a form to apply to the Bear Council just because I don't have the capacity to spend time doing something like that. At the same time, I feel that I could give a lot, and I think I've proven that. So I would think about how you go about bringing in council members and bringing in new people. If somebody, for example, is a Grape DAO member, maybe you just invite them to the council if they seem interested. It's just an observation.
I think that's a fair observation. I don't know if I quite realized that you specifically were interested in joining the council at that capacity without doing the form. I've actually waived that form for someone else already, so I'm sure Kimo won't object. We're happy to add you to that.
Yeah,
Kirk as well.
through Kirk. Yeah, through Kirk in the chat. Just cause. So it's definitely sort of open invite there. If of course we'd love existing DAO members to also be DAO members. It's more so getting the wallets and sort of being able to vet ideas of people we haven't necessarily spoke on VCs with, or keeping it open too, because there's a couple people who are really active in chat but don't talk. So yeah, definitely want to keep things as frictionless and frictionful as possible when necessary.
Yeah, 100% count me in. And, I also see if you look in the audience, there's Jairus. He's a very active DAO member in Grape. His profile picture is currently one of the Bears Reloaded. So, yeah, I think, there's a few people. What would be the best way for them to share that they would want to be, really active? Because as I can tell you, anybody who's on this call is amongst those, very active DAO members.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the time syncs up, the Bear meetings on Tuesdays and just kind of showing up to that would be really cool. We don't have a lot of heavy criteria in terms of our DAO members. It's not like we have a giant treasury to protect or anything. So, any pretty much open invite, the more the merrier. Especially when we're kind of working towards sort of easy to participate in goals where they're light, writing, research, whatever it might need to be. Yeah, more the merrier.
Yeah, I think that's right. Right. We have the static meetings. We're going to rotate them early and late to try to accommodate more people, meaning that every other Tuesday will be early and late, depending on where you are. I think that's probably for the rest of the community, as far as like presence and participation goes. The number one criteria is just showing up and showing that you give a shit. That would probably be the main thing. I think in the Notion and with the Realms DAO, we'll just we'll split up the council in a meaningful way where it's token holders versus not, because we actually have some council members that have chosen not to go through the process. So.
Hey guys, how are you?
Howdy.
So from what I understand, you guys injected me in the council, right?
Yeah, it was
With or without your permission.
You've been injected.
Damn, you guys hijacked me. So yeah, I mean, look, I don't know what I could contribute, but I do know that I'm using you guys also as guinea pigs with some things that we're going to be releasing. So I'm super excited about what can be done, and we're going to have first use cases beyond Grape that are going to be using some features and functionality that we're going to roll out, and that ties in also with some smart contracts that are going to be rolled out in the near future. I'm not going to share absolutely anything else, so not even people in Grape know, and not even the Bears, but I know you guys are going to be the first to use it. And I think that's really exciting. But the synergy and what we've done up to now, it's unfortunately in a bear market, but fortunately it is a bear market too, because you've done a fantastic product. I think when the tides shift and we go in the bull run, you're going to see a completely different dynamic on what the direction is going to take your project, and also what we're building out with you guys. So I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, I think I think that's very much true. I think it is in the last like 9 months or so of Sanctuary and Bear's work, one of the things we really realized is that we never really had a bullhorn. So I think like over this next 6-12 months, however long it takes for us to hit the not goblin town, really focused on kind of preparing our socials and the ability to sort of blast out updates to the general space, so that we are actually prepared for that in a meaningful way.
Excellent, guys. Thanks for taking the time to come by and give us the update on this. As I said, you're a lot of what we're building is connected to your success. We are incentivized to see the bear succeed. We've always been big fans of the Sanctuary. So as you build out the DAO, really rely on us to help out with some of those early pains.
Yeah, definitely. And huge thanks to you, Dean and Kirk. You guys have been great for many months with us, very supportive. Just always been a pleasant team to work with and true leaders in the space. I mean that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, totally. Ditto. And I look forward to Breakpoint in Athens DAO.
Yes. Oh my God, so much to do there.
Yeah. Last thing is you might have seen on Twitter, if you're on Twitter at all, a bunch of no symbols, the 0 with the slash through it. So that's something that I'm working on as a piece of Bear DAO. But if you're curious, feel free to throw the symbol in your name and get access to a little group chat and some early stuff. It's really very, very exciting stuff, but I keep it under wraps. But it's has a lot to do with NFT minting as it stands. Kind of a big union of D-rugs. So yeah, that's the only other update I have, but it's cryptic and weird. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I think next on the agenda should be the I want to talk about the phones real fast and what we're planning to do there. So we've discussed this before, which is we want to get a phone in the hands of our core members. I'm super enthusiastic about something like this because it really it's super aligned with what we're trying to achieve, I think, in Grape, which is really being at the forefront of using technology and discovering what we can do with these new tools that Solana makes. So I share the list, which was originally the reputation list that we had as a DAO core kind of voted on for the reputation token. I use that as the basis, and over time, other people rose their hand, and I remembered other members. Right now, the list is about 30 people. So what I propose is we go ahead with the pre-order. As you see, we've put the rest of the funds now. So all of Grape's assets now are controlled by Realms. So there's over $700,000 worth inside our treasury as we speak. To do this Saga phone pre-order, we'd need to spend $100 per pre-order. Now, what I recommend we do is we pre-order anywhere between 30 and 50 phones. Right now, we've identified 30 members. That being said, it should be our aspiration that we, are growing. So, one thing we can discuss is, hey, should we order more, or less? That list I think is a very good indication of very active people. Almost virtually everybody in this audience is one of those people on that list. And then the other prerequisite I said in my proposal was that when it comes to actually, paying off the rest of the phone, which I believe is going to be $1,000, I suggested that we only do the order for people who um, are capable of a proposal threshold, are able to meet the proposal threshold at the time of the order. I think that in the realm of all the things we do in the emissions, it's very achievable. There's multiple people who, they have the ability to be, at that Neanderthal, at that proposal threshold level, and everybody has their choice. Some people have chosen to sell off their governance, other people have held it, but there are multiple people who have had that ability and have chosen not to, or have chosen to. So I think it's very achievable and very fair for us to set that as a prerequisite. So yeah, for me, I think the things to really discuss at this point before we move forward with putting a proposal is, how many phones is it? Is everybody in agreement with this prerequisite, or should we add more prerequisites? And then finally, I do want to point out that it's my belief that even though you're on this list, it doesn't necessarily mean you will be a recipient of our eventual NTT or reputation token, if we do go forward with that. These are mutually exclusive moments, right? That being on the pre-order of the phone doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a recipient of an NTT if we do go forward with a reputation NTT. So with that being said, I'd like to open up for discussion. That way we can move forward with a proposal today. And I'm excited to move forward with a proposal. As you guys saw, Anatoly retweeted this. This is a big deal. Realms did share that this was us that, helped inspire them to build this. So I would love for us to be able to have a proposal to tweet, really, again, show how Grape is at the forefront of innovation. Any questions or discussions on this?
Yes, I am understanding the pre-order process. You can cancel at any time, and you would get the $100 back. So I think it wouldn't hurt to order or pre-order more, like, since we can cancel it.
Is there a deadline to this pre-order?
I don't believe there's any deadline to the pre-order. The stress of time would be just for us to be very punctual, timely with the release of this. So hey, we asked them to make this, they made it. I want to show that, hey, when we ask for them to make something, that we do use what they make for us, relatively quickly.
And maybe if we come up with a final list, it could also be a thing that we have a proposal made in a way that the people who are on the list get a pre-order slot, and if they reach the criteria for getting the full phone, they get the phone, and if they didn't reach it, they can still pay the difference and get the $100 from their pre-order from Grape. So I think could also be an idea. So
I'm totally in support of that. Yeah, I think that, by virtue of you being on this list,
Yeah.
that is proof of merit. So that $100, I'm totally aligned with that. Yeah.
Would be 100 USD. Because let's face it, not everyone who is on the list will achieve like 200 K grape, but
Yeah.
then they can decide whether they want to pay the difference for themselves or if they don't want to have the phone. And I think that's only fair.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and look, I'm also I want us to start, critically looking at emissions and figuring out how would it be achievable, because, for sure there are people who are not at 200,000 that have received more than enough to be at 200,000. That's a fact. So I don't want us to we should aspire to have a meritocratic system where people can earn it through proof of contribution. At the same time, I don't want us to go back to a farming lifestyle where it's like, oh, hey, now I can, abuse this system that is trying to reward me with governance power and instead convert it to USDC and then raise my hand later and say, oh, hey, I don't have the 200,000, woe is me. So, like, what I'm trying, even though I'm saying it in a callous way, I want us to build roads for people to earn their way to that proposal threshold. To answer Sergeant Savage, no. If you hold 200K grape, it would be paid for by the DAO.
At the time of the proposal or at the time whenever the final orders are set in?
It would be at the time of the final orders, and I would think it's very likely that we're going to require a lock of those 200,000 grape.
Yeah, that'd be cool to have the
Because
functionality in.
yeah, and like, because we are seeing that some people reach a certain level of influence and then will be able to leave. So I think the fairest version of this would be that we reach a point where our proposal threshold does require, or that 200,000 grape, whatever the prerequisite would be, would require to be locked. That way, we don't have people gaming a system and taking advantage of our DAO's generosity.
We had talked about that last time too, but the functionality is still not there yet, right?
It's just I don't know how much it's not there. It's just ultimately there's not many people that are working and experimenting in this area. Anybody can take part and play around with it. It's a capacity thing. If everybody voted, hey Dean, this is the priority, we need you to figure out the lockers, then I'll drop everything and do that. So it sounds like we have a general consensus on the prerequisite being proposal threshold, and it'll likely include some sort of locking. As far as the number, should we, is there any feeling about the lower bound being 30, or should we aspire for a bigger amount, 50?
Yeah, I would
as
go for 50.
I'm also a supporter of 50.
Yeah, especially if we can get that back. No issue with that.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay, so at this point, anybody will be able to put forward a proposal and likely have unanimous support on it. Yeah, if no one's put up the proposal by end of day, I will do it this week. I want to have that proposal up in the next 24 hours. So yeah, if no one else has done it, I'll do it tomorrow.
There are no
And the
instructions
proposal.
right now, right? In the proposal.
Yeah, there's a straight up instruction that says Saga phones, and then you put the number.
Oh,
and
is
then
it
you would
live?
select. Yeah, it's live. So you do, make proposal. The instruction is
Awesome.
buy Saga phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the
th-
screenshot and I thought it was in testnet. Right. Okay, I see it.
yeah. It's live, and that's also why we did some of these changes to Treasury. You guys might have seen we moved it to an ATA account. Billy can speak more to that. And he's the one who helped make this happen so fast. That's why you guys saw the council token votes. We really, a lot of if we're ever going to do a council token thing, it's going to be operational. And we wanted to make sure that we also had the funds in the realms. That way, everything is there. Like, it really bothers me that Deep DAO reports us as $24,000 when we've got, over 3/4 million.
You write them a nasty tweet.
Yeah, and I'm honest about this. Likely going to, I'm really looking at that space. Like, Deep DAO has raised money before, and you know, they're doing a shitty job. So I feel like we are in a great position. If anybody's interested in it, DM me. I think there's a huge opportunity to build better DAO analytics. And we're gonna, I think we can dominate that space. Okay.
Yeah, I will do the proposal after the call.
My man, CryptoPause, you are a hero.
Can you make a video while doing that pause? Is that possible? Is that too much? Because that'd be really cool to see that. Maybe tweet that out, get that out there.
Okay.
Video.
Yeah, a little GIF. Might be the first instance of doing that too, which, would be cool.
It's definitely the time anybody in crypto has done anything like this. So again, guys, very proud that we're making history together. And as you saw, I totally also thought it was really cool. So super pumped for this. Should we move on to the Hacker House proposal? Because it would be great to have a screenshot of both our Saga phone proposal and our sending Dynite to Soul proposal.
Yeah, let's send the goat.
Yeah, the goat's here. The goat's but like we talked about it last time. We don't have any like metrics or I guess KPIs for this. The branding obviously speaks for itself. I don't have any grape merch unless we can get like an emergency shipment to like represent the project. That would be good. But in other words, like the nourishment of being in that culture would be really awesome, especially being sent by Grape itself.
So, hey, Dynite, how do you feel about, I'll put you in, like, so we've got designs already for the merch. Maybe what would make sense is in your proposal for whatever, cost it is for you to attend the Hacker House, we include a cost for you to make merch, right? So, I'm volunteering you for a lot of work, but you find a local, producer of, hats and shirts, and I'm sure that some of the guys we have here can help you with that process. We can give you the designs to give to them. That way, it'll just be so much cheaper for us to make it locally, rather than having anything shipped. So when you do the proposal, add in that cost. I think the first thing you need to do is just get a few quotes. Let me see, Taki, you're active. You can type this. Is this something you think you can help them out with, or I don't know, Jairus? Anybody on the merch side that can volunteer to help Dinah kind of figure this out? Excellent. Okay, so Dinah, are you cool with that?
Yeah, I can give it a shot. So I've never attended any of these, so the expectation show up in great merch and um give it out to, like, I guess, worthy projects or worthy people.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is this is a system that I think we're building out for all kind of DAOs, which is, get a sense of, yeah, meet people. You'll wear the merch, you'll have the merch. You can also, usually at these hacker houses, you can give the merch directly to the Solana people, and then what happens is at these hacker houses, everybody has a wristband and a QR code, and everybody's allowed to take like 3 items of merch. So you can give them the merch, and then people can decide which grape things they can take. I wouldn't be so chintzy with the merch. Like, feel free to just give it out to people that like show interest, or just give it to the Solana people. And then separately, as far as like, something to accomplish, talk to people. And as you see that they're interested, and, I think the number one is, hey, do you use Discord? And like, if the person's like, what's Discord? You're like, okay, this is probably not going to be a good,
Yeah.
you're not really going to be able to help us out much. That's really the biggest prerequisite for me is like, do you use Discord? And then like, if you find someone that knows Realms as well, oh my God, that's just
Yeah.
that's a DAO. That's a graper waiting to happen.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a lot of fun, especially I think it was Pause that had the idea to do the same thing that Wells did, was to maybe request some grape to onboard some people into the grape ecosystem.
Absolutely. I think, we should, think about something um, like 40,000 grape, 50,000 grape, where, you're trying to get like one gorilla, and then, maybe a few gibbons. And of course, again, like, let's play this by ear. Like, I want you to feel very comfortable to, crazy Ivan, and just say, hey, this is an opportunity, I'm gonna need this, or just give 50,000 grape to one person that you think's amazing. Like this, you've earned the confidence of the DAO. Everybody here has earned the confidence of all of us. So really, I'm excited, man. So as a next step, I guess it's work with Taki and local vendors to kind of guesstimate how much you'll need on the merch printing side. And then, anything you're going to need regarding travel, hotel, and eating out. Like, really, the idea is that while you're at the hacker house, you are a DAO representative, and everybody listening, this is extended to everybody in the Grape DAO. If there's a hacker house happening that you want to go to, raise your hand, let us know, and it's exciting. I love that we're, you know, starting to find these ways where it's um, kind of like a reward, but it's work, So this for me is the best kind of experience.
Yeah, I think I think it'd be really cool just to be in an environment where it's people like-minded individuals, like building something or trying to do something like that. Um, Obviously, never experienced it live, so that would be a challenge and an exciting one. I'll look up what it would take to get that merch created here locally and touch back, see if we can get this proposal started.
Yeah, let's target to get that proposal up for you, within the next like 2-3 days. Don't sweat it too much on the merch, and like at the end of the day, this is just something that we're testing out. Don't kill yourself trying to get the most competitive pricing or whatever. Like, you're gonna find 2 or 3 vendors, you'll get a feel for quality and just go for it. I always want us to have quality stuff.
Yeah.
Rather than try to be chintzy. I want
No,
us to
for
be
sure.
proud of our grape stuff. Awesome. Wow. So 2 powerhouse proposals getting ready to happen this week. You guys want to talk real fast about kind of like the Discord revamp and the membership, or is there something else on the agenda you guys wanted to go over first?
I could speak on that really quickly. So Legend and Taki and I met up a couple of days ago, just doing a cleansing that was way past due, with the goal of reducing the channels to 20. And I think Taki said it's at 18 channels now. Might take a little bit to get used to, but I think it's a very welcome change. Taki did go above and beyond these past couple of days to clean it even further, and the goal was, you know, it just needed to change. A lot of channels weren't getting used. If new members were to come during this time, it needed to be, just a lot cleaner, just like Savage said. Yeah. So yeah, he did make a note of what those changes were for the Discord. Um, just consolidating a lot of where the traffic is, because it was happening in in a lot of areas. So just consolidating, having more chats in specific channels. If you do have any suggestions on the Discord changes, feel free to tag either me, Legend, or Taki. I don't think anything here is like finalized. Um, we're still toying with it. Just recently too, I made the recommendation that we separate the DAO services from Start Here, just because I thought it'd be a good idea to highlight, and Taki did that. You know, no idea is too dumb. The purpose is, for any new individuals coming in here, it would be a very enjoyable experience, and they would understand where to go if they needed, to ask for a GAN token or to talk about NFTs and what have you.
Yeah, I love the changes. And I like the structure he's done with those channels at the top where it's like, hey, you want grape access. I really like what he's written in collaborations. Like, so many people come in here, so many times, you have no idea how many times we get contacted. Hey, I would love to talk to you about DAOs. And like, no, you want to learn from me about DAOs, use my time, and then give us nothing, So, we've earned this position as being a DAO leader in Solana. If somebody wants to come and learn about DAOs, they can come join the Grape DAO. It's not cost prohibitive. It's not like it's a monkey. It's accessible. It's super accessible. And I think we're super structured in that it's very easy to get straight into the mix of things, right? It's like, hey, all you need is to hold some grape. Come Tuesday, come Sunday, that's it. And then if you can't come on those calls, feel free to write something. Love the new structure. And I no longer have to like mute, like I only have to mute like one channel now. And I can continuously see whenever there's a new message. I'm really happy with the changes.
Yeah, same with me. I was able to unmute certain channels because it was just too much noise. So I think reducing that was really really good. I wanted to talk about membership, but I think we can do the legal update. If you guys want to transition to that, I think it'd be good use of our time.
Yep, I just invited them up. And I agree.
Yep, sweet.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey, Sam. Loud and clear. How you doing, brother?
Good, good. I'm on that first cup of coffee, so we're live. Dean, what aspect do you want me to kind of touch on? Anything in particular?
I think the most exciting is the work we've done on kind of like this documentation disclaimer around working within Grape, and kind of this acknowledgement around like what a USDC payment is, or a Grape emission is, because one of the biggest concerns always is how this can be considered employment. So with this document now, I think the Grape DAO is insulated from any misunderstanding around employment. Yeah, I think explaining that and figuring out how we roll that out is useful.
Yeah. So just a little like some initial thoughts. I think probably in my mind, the document that I shared, and we can share it more broadly, of course. I don't know who all has seen it or hasn't. Probably needs to be broken up a little bit more based on, it seems like every day I get on, you guys are doing something new or I'm learning about something new. So I think in some ways probably need to break up the terms of service into different categories. So you have like an overarching one that covers the Grape token, but then either within that document or separately kind of covering like the bounties and the DAO proposals and all those processes and stuff like that. But certainly it's a start in terms of disclaiming some of those basic principles of employment or even contractor relationships and stuff like that, and making everything clear that it's a volunteer basis in which these emissions are being awarded for. So that's kind of the general take there. I think the emissions of Grape is an interesting question. Certainly you want to make sure that you're not, in my mind, Grape is obviously a utility token. In the terms of service, there's something that kind of hints at that as well. So I think just making sure that the action of the DAO is always within that narrative is really important if you're going to be putting this disclaimer out there. And we can talk about that more. USDC, obviously, as long as it's payment for volunteering and there's efforts there and stuff like that, and it's not a dividend out of the treasury, then that's fine as well. So I think it's a good start. So that's kind of the general premise there. Anything else you want to comment on that, Dean?
No, I think you covered it, and really, for everybody's edification, before we get into a bit of a Q&A, this is the goal of this is to protect all of us, because anybody, I've read, and Sam can expand on this. I've read about how just being part of a DAO that's doing certain things puts everybody that's part of a DAO liable. So the most important thing is to protect us all from malicious behavior rather than anything else. There are going to be people, we probably don't have them on this call, but there are going to be people at some point in our future that will try to hurt us. So really the goal of all of this is to protect all of us from things that, I don't think that it's one of those things where it's like up for interpretation. It's very clear that, hey, we have this bounty program, you do this work, you get this reward. Like, we all have been able to operate without any kind of issue. It's to make sure that if somebody were to try to be malicious, they can't. That there is some sort of documentation that they've acknowledged, that would protect us collectively from a malicious actor.
Yeah, I think that's well said. You know, I don't know what the interest level is for the community here, but you know, something to kind of be considered is whether or not to put these, you know, agreements into the token itself, so it transfers with the token. We're doing that with one other client of the firm, putting they actually have independent contractors, so we're putting that agreement into the token itself. Certainly, you can do that with the terms of use and the volunteer basis acknowledgement. So that's something to also be looked at too if you guys are interested. But I'm basically here to just kind of implement what you guys want to do, and so that's my role.
I think what's most interesting to our audience, which is basically most of the DAO, is here. What can the DAO do, or what does the DAO need to do to move this forward? Do we need to make a decision on something, have a discussion, or what's the next step?
You know, I think the next step is really kind of deciding what the entity framework is for Grape DAO. You know, it's not just about securities. You know, everyone in Web3 talks about securities laws, but you know, you have other legal principles that can apply to members that are active participants. You know, in terms of corporate law and fiduciary duties, liabilities and identification, all these other kind of principles is, you know, obviously there's a couple options to DAOs. One is to remain regimeless. That is, you just kind of operate in the internet. And, you know, if you ever are brought into any legal jurisdiction, you know, for example, in the US, you know, it's basically a general partnership. The DAO could look at, you know, foreign foundations. Those have pros and cons. Could look at, you know, in the U.S., for example, an incorporated nonprofit association or a cooperative. The idea is kind of deciding what fits best for the DAO based on its mission, you know, its purpose, what its members want. I think, you know, that's the main thing is ensuring that anyone that's actively involved in the DAO has that protection should anything happen. So that's kind of like the first big question to kind of tackle. And then there's a lot that would flow from that.
Yeah, and my understanding at this point is, you know, we're going to move forward now with having this document that you've prepared. I know that there's like a few more tweaks you need to make to it, but the goal is, you know, once that's ready, we'll have it available here in Discord. We'll have it available on our documentation. You know, that at least allows us to move forward with a few regular operations. And then, you know, I'm very excited about Grape working with you on the sandbox idea for Utah. And it's likely that Grape would become the first participant of that new framework.
Yeah. I think if that's possible, I think that'd be, you know, the first of a lot of things. You know, there's going to be a lot of questions. I need to get more active in the Discord. I think that'd be probably the first step, because there are a lot of questions in terms of, do we wrap the entire Grape ecosystem? Do we wrap just certain aspects of the Grape ecosystem in terms of any kind of risk mitigation and stuff like that? So there's quite a few questions to be had, but I think getting the terms of service and mainly, you know, ensuring that there's a mutual understanding across all participants as to their relationship with the Grape DAO, getting that done is a good starting point. And then some of these more difficult and drawn out discussions can kind of start from there.
Excellent. I think if there's no other questions, Sam, thank you for taking the time. Looking forward to sharing that document with everyone before we can start making it official.
Sounds good.
I see there's a conversation around the Grape Syndicate. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about that. I think our position there is, this is as Sergeant Savage said, Grape's involvement was simply that it happened within Grape's server, but none of the if we look at like me, Billy, and Chris, and Archimedes as council token holders, we weren't really involved in the decision making around there. This was just organized by members of Grape. I don't really think it's something we need to critically think about. That being said, I have talked to Barn Dog about other things for the gaming council, but as far as the Grape Syndicate's concerned, I personally feel comfortable saying that it's not Grape's responsibility.
I think the members of the syndicate are handling it or like seeing what steps are called. I agree. I think it was called Grape Syndicate just by virtue of it happening within a subset of the community within Grape, and Grape being, I believe they're also a member of said syndicate. So
Yeah, Grape. So the Grape DAO did put Soul in that syndicate. I've also personally put Soul in that syndicate. But yeah, this wasn't organized and anything by the Grape Foundation or Grape Labs. So I think it's I don't. Like, if even though the assets are held by a wallet that I have access to, I feel I have zero jurisdiction to make any decisions on those assets and must respect what the syndicate wants to do. That being said, it probably makes sense to move those assets into a squads or a multi-sig. If there are concerns being raised, the biggest liability is the fact that we hold on to those assets. So I'm more than happy for us to migrate those over to a Grape Syndicate squads or realms. One thing I wanted to bring up was reputation, and how to move forward with it for Grape DAO. One of the big questions in my mind over the last 2 weeks was, do we do a multiplier or do we do a boost? And the more I've thought about it, I'm more in support of a boost after all. I think that that's a much more in spirit of having a wide community base where each reputation holder gets an additional, let's say, 1 million or 2 million grape worth of voting power versus a multiplier, like that, there still isn't a chance for somebody to be a reputation whale, and it's much more conducive towards multiple people agreeing on a decision versus one person. So if there was a multiplier effect, you could still have one person with a lot of reputation and a lot of tokens dominate. Whereas with this boost, it makes it much more likely that it's a majority vote. And the minority majority dilemma for DAOs, I think it's always you want to lean towards majority. Anyway, that was just a small update on some of my thinking on the reputation side. I aspire to have a write-up on some reputation thoughts this week. I'm pretty confident I'll be able to do it. The Grape Dean's list is moving, is doing very well in that we just got Everlend, so I don't need to focus too much there. And Avid Learner, Cavicon, and Scientist Joe, in Pavelson, you guys have all been making it so awesome. And now we just added 2 DGen apes to the group, so I think I can focus much more on getting the reputation write-up done. So yeah, just wanted to share some of those thoughts. And before I start writing it out, I will set up a public discussion here in Grape sometime this week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's very stimulating stuff. I definitely want to be a part of that conversation. I did write up my initial thoughts, and I know you did respond. For anyone else who is interested, I'm sure we'll dive further when you start that conversation here on Discord. But on Discourse, there is the initial conversation on what the reputation is, and I think we're still operating. Or I guess I don't know if we took the steps on removing the members from the DAO under that new metric for receiving that NTT for that, right?
Yeah, so that's where that initial list I shared for the phones came from, that list of people. I think that list is pretty timely, but we should probably reassess closer to when we are ready to assign it. There's just still so much to do in between, and then we're constantly learning a lot from the Lighthouse guys and what they're building. So I think we can use that list as a good basis, but likely we'll have to refine it. And yeah, and timing wise, it might be that by the time we really understand what the boost looks like, Lighthouse now has their integration up and running, and then we kind of look at, okay, how do we measure voting and proposals? Yeah, this is going to be the most interesting thing we're going to do on kind of like moving DAOs forward in voting dynamics. It's crazy. I don't know if you guys read the Audius stuff. Like, I read that and I'm like, holy shit, we're so ahead of you guys. I can't believe you got pwned like that.
Really frightening when I saw that.
But it did look like, from what you had posted, it looked like it might be an inside job. Still scary.
Yeah, maybe. But what they posted on Twitter was like okay, we saw that there was a transaction, but they didn't even realize that there had been a proposal and that the proposal had been executed. So they only saw the transactions and not the proposal. So that's really scary.
What was the time frame in between both of those, the proposal creation and execution?
It's the same day,
Uh,
and right now
Yeah,
you can't see that
that would
much.
never happen to us though. Like I personally have Gilder installed and I have say dialect updates through Telegram. So like I see them the instant they're up. And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah, the really scary part for me was that I didn't realize that had been a proposal. So this is what really frightens me. And then a proposal that entailed like 6 million.
yeah, it seems like we'd probably be a little too active for something like that, but I'm somewhat intrigued for someone to try that and see what happen.
Yeah, there will be a first time when yeah, there is a proposal that shouldn't be executed. But I'm also really curious about their postmortem because I want to know how it could happen. And my initial thought was when I saw the probable change in the contract that might have been done manually, that something like that, not coming from the Grapes, from the Rams team itself, but from somewhere else, that we also have like that platform risk, or that we rely on Realms working 100%. And we saw with the withdrawal or the failed withdrawal and proposals for the Mango contract that things can happen and that funds can get stuck and yeah, proposals can't be executed all the time or in all cases. So maybe we should consider to like minimize the risk and think about using another multi-sig for part of the funds. Just an idea, but
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. And I feel fairly confident in our safety today. That being said, you know, I don't see any harm in us diversifying. You know, I know Squads is coming out with version 3 soon. So you know, we could diversify and put some there. Also, you know, if like there's nothing that prevents us from moving forward on the Soul purchase as we had already kind of voted through. Like diversifying our risk also can be an opportunity for us to look for low risk yield. I think Soul as an investment for us is a low risk proposition because, you know, to a certain extent, Grape is all in on Solana. Um, you know, maybe I think there's a lot of options and I agree.
I just wanted to just pop in for a second because I've just been listening in. I just wanted to give you an update, everyone, that the reputation stuff, the governance stuff, will be integrated into Lighthouse this week, and you can do some tests with boosts and multipliers, like on a spreadsheet, just to see what that might have looked like with past votes and stuff. So we can look at all of that next week or this week whenever we decide to organize this call.
sounds really awesome.
Yeah, we should definitely devote a day to that. That way we can also do some screen sharing as well. So yeah, once you guys are ready, let's set up a day to get all of us playing around with it. It's exciting. Well done. Really excited.
Cool. It'll be live like on Tuesday or Wednesday, at least in the interface. We can on the screen share then. We'll also have the Realms multi-sig that governs the minting and distribution of non-transferable tokens or
I just want to say something really quick about membership. We talked about it several months ago. For me, the overall goal for membership now was reducing the 3-tier. The overall goal was simplification. Because if they don't understand initially what these tiers would be for membership, I think they are less likely to join. So in my head, I just see it as there's only 2 tiers now. One is Neanderthal, and everyone else is Grape. With that, there would be no more class emissions. Emissions would come from voting, and it would be a base value for each voters. It would be nothing extravagant, right? But like I said, this is just a broad stroke kind of idea. But I think simplifying our membership model would be a good choice. Let me link the proposal where we last had this discussion. I think we're in need of a membership revision, and have been for a while. But if anyone has any thoughts on it, they have mentioned it here. Feel free to add anything else, or if anyone has any comments here or questions.
Yeah, I agree that we need a revision, and I see what you're saying in that really the big difference in membership is you're able to make a proposal or you're not. Originally the gorilla level was the prerequisite to be able to apply for the DAO. And it looks like we're going to get rid of the DAO application process. Now, what I had suggested somewhere in the chat was, maybe moving forward, DAO assignments, or I mean, maybe I don't know what the DAO role means anymore, other than a way for us to signify that, like, there's just so much stuff, like, like we use the DAO role right now to give access to discourse. If we're not going to be using discourse, then the DAO role isn't the same. Maybe I'm giving too much alpha away by saying we might not be using discourse because we might have a grape version of discourse coming out.
Will that be Web 5?
Web 25.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I let me I totally agree with you that we need a membership revamp. I 100% see what you're saying in that, really it's like, okay, either you're in Grape, so by virtue of you holding Grape, you're able to join this chat, right? I think anybody holding Grape can join this chat. You don't have to be a Grape DAO member, or is it only Grape DAO members that can join it? I think it's anybody, right? I'm fairly sure, although everybody that's in this chat is a Grape DAO member. Let me see. No, DFA doesn't have the DAO role. Okay, so anybody holding Grape can be in this chat, and that seems cool. Yeah, there's a lot being revamped. I still aspire for us to have some sort of gaming. That's what brought me into this whole world of tokenized communities to begin with. But yeah, that's the only thing I would hope, is that we can still have a membership level that's kind of like, I'm part of Grape. But maybe I don't want to have to deal with all that governance stuff. I just want to be able to, see what's in the chats, learn about the NFT strategy, and maybe play in the fantasy football.
Yeah, and I think once they get in here, they can learn a little bit more, but the simplification of it, I think will go a long ways for them to actually venture out and see, I actually want to get involved with content or just the fantasy football, because that was a lot of fun. Um, or any other branches of grape. But essentially everyone's a graper, inclusivity.
Yeah, and now with the I think that we've seen that these Grape back tokens are successful in that, like, just because you're holding Grape, whatever level of Grape, it doesn't mean you're part of Dean's List. Like, if you explicitly want to be part of Dean's List, you go and get the Dean token. If you want to be part of the content crew, you gotta get GCT. So I think that strategy works really well. And maybe that's the future, where it's like, hey, if we have Grape Gaming, it's just a Grape Gaming token, and it doesn't need to be connected to the Grape Gaming Council. It can be its own thing. Like, I don't want us to ever have to impose, like, hey, the Grape Gaming Council now needs to do this. Like, it can become a different Grape Gaming thing. Just like the NFT Council can, maybe turn into something. Yeah, as I'm talking it out, Dinah, I see more and more where you're coming from, where it's like, really, like, there are already different flavors of the Great Back tokens. If you want to join those, go ahead and join them. And then the other versions are, you're either just here as a grape holder, and maybe we increase the minimum threshold. I also see what you're saying about the emission. Like, instead of automatically having membership emissions, make them connected to voting and proposals.
Which we did that too. So we want another way
Yeah.
just to incentivize, the voting, which is happening, right? But that, for me, it was like a flat. You vote, you get like whatever it is, 100 grape just for voting. And I personally like that model because it would let the little grapes have a bigger voice. The only other way to get more grape is to be more involved. Um, but if you don't have that time simply by voting, you have a percentage wise, you have a higher chance of just getting more, uh, getting rewarded more voting power.
Yep. No, and yeah, I agree with you that it's likely going to be, two versions. It's either you reach proposal threshold, or you're a great member. Yeah, I think we can add this into, like, maybe we have a super meeting this week where it's like, let's talk about reputation and membership. So we're approaching. Let's see, how long have we been talking? Ella Cristo, chill out for a second. We're approaching 2 hours on the call. We've gotten a lot done because we've got 2 massive proposals coming out. Is there anything we want to talk about, or we can continue chatting in live chats as we wrap up?
I mean, the psi option swap, but I think that's too much to get into right now, given we typically want to end at this time. Plus, I don't think that guy is here to chat about it. And
He's not, yeah. And really, are we in agreement that let's go for like, what was it, like 5,000 worth, like $5,000 worth? I think that should be our min and our max, because it's like, okay, we get all the functionality we could get with Insight options with that amount. There's no reason, there's no incentive to go above that amount. Like, hey, we now have reached maximum usage with Insight options, and then we can go from there. All that remains is like how to do it in a decentralized way, which, I laid out a few ideas, and then Sebastian came back, and then I think Tommy came back. So I'll write up a proposal for the exact amount. Like, I know what I need to do is I need to talk to squads about that one bounty for Ryder and Red. I need to write up a proposal now for the size swap amount, and then I need to prioritize the reputation stuff. And if I get time, I will look into the lockers. I think that those are like 4 really good things. The only thing we didn't get to touch on today was the NFT idea. It's been lingering, and it came back up if you guys were paying attention in crypto chat. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, I guess we'll wrap it up here. We got some awesome proposals coming up from CryptoPause and Dynite this week. A lot of discussion around reputation, membership, Discord. So this is the time to share our views and our opinions. Crazy that we're, like, I look at our town halls, our meetings, guys, we have very high activity. Like, the Monkey DAO had like 7 people on the last one. So really props to everyone for keeping it interesting and exciting, and giving us a reason every Sunday to come here and join together. And looking forward to these awesome proposals and the conversations this week. Take care, guys. Have an awesome Sunday.
Have a nice one.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.